to start off with Tottenham because I know you've had this most of your life, Potsy. Spurs fans always kind of grandstanding. We're this, we're that. We're bigger than you. We're better than you. We're going to achieve more than you. In the build-up to last week, you saw that almost everywhere. Combined 11s with more players. Romero and our defense is better than yours. You've got Odegaard and Rice missing. We're gonna steamroll you. And again, for the third time in a row, which is the first time in nearly 40 years, Arsenal win 3 league games at White Hart Lane on the bounce. Another day where Arsenal sort of reign supreme. But there's a lot of criticism for Big Ange, a lot of criticism from his own fans now for his system and not adapting, the high line, the poor marking and the poor set piece element to his game, and essentially his style of football being absolutely outdone again. I think it's 4 clean sheets in 30 plus games. They're struggling to win matches. They haven't beat a top 6 team since they beat Man United early on last season. Things are not looking good for Big Ange, and he's starting to be called out and called a fraud.
Yeah, and fair play. What doesn't help is when he comes out and says stupid stuff in his interviews. And he's actually quite rude, now. He started off at Tottenham and I thought, you know what, he's come across quite well. He's come across as quite a cool guy and all this stuff. But for me now, he's actually been quite rude. I mean, the way he was with the girl who was interviewing him was actually really rude, the way he was talking.
No, I don't think that was rude. I got to defend him on that one, bro. Like, she's asked him a question. He's about to answer it, and then she takes the mic away from him and then adds a bit more to the question. Then puts the mic back to his...
That's her job, man. She hadn't finished asking yet. That's her job, man.
Why does she keep on going like this then with the mic?
She only did it once, man. He said, "Oh, you're going to let me..." He said, "Oh, you're going to let me finish it." And then she said, "I've just repeated what I've said." You don't need to be like that. I get you're a sore loser. I understand it hurts, right? This guy then comes out in the interview and says, "I always win things in my second year." Then when it was questioned again today, I don't know if you saw the press conference or yesterday, whenever it was, "I don't understand why this is such a big thing. This is just a fact. I win things in my second year." This guy, man, is losing his head. He's losing his marbles. And I think he's under massive pressure. Now, in the last 14 games that they have played in the Premier League, they have won 4 games in the last 14 from last season and this season. Let me name the teams they've beaten. Everton this year, who look like they're going to get relegated. They're that bad. Luton, relegated. Sheffield United, relegated. And Burnley, relegated. They're the only 4 teams that they've beaten in the last 14 Premier League games. That is a shambles of a run, right? And this guy is still in the job. Now, it's the worst start to a season since, I think, 2009. This manager is the most stubborn manager who does not want to change anything in terms of his high line. And he has spent over half of what Mikel Arteta has spent in 5 years, in 2. And he has spent it on Brennan Johnson. And look at the state of that. Some of the players in that squad, by the way, they've spent money on. It's absolutely crazy. He's bringing on Werner for Maddison. He's got £65 million up front now in Solanke, which I think is a massive risk. He's already spent 60 on Richarlison. You go to Forest with 50 million, you don't come away with Morgan Gibbs-White. You come away with Brennan Johnson. That's a sackable offence as far as I'm concerned straight away. Absolutely shambolic. Some of them look all right. Van der Ven, I think he's actually a good centre-half. But all these Tottenham fans that have been telling me Romero is better than Saliba, get in the bin, man, please. Please just get in the bin. This guy's cost you three or four goals already. You've got this Vicario in goal, who's the biggest flapper I've seen for a long time when coming from crosses. In fact, he didn't even flap, if I'm honest, for that corner. He just got done. I don't know what he was doing. It was just embarrassing. So when I see all Spurs fans every single year, they'll get back in their box now. They'll be quiet now. All their 5G's gone down the whole of this weekend. They can't text anyone. There's absolute silence from everyone. And then around about Christmas time to the start of January, I'll hear from them all again. They'll be putting Romero and Porro and Van der Ven back in their combined 11s because we'll be having them. It'll be around the corner. It'll be Arsenal Spurs around about New Year, and they'll come out again. This is what they do, man. This is what happens. This is what Tottenham do. This is a football club that bottle everything. This is a football club that don't win things. This is a football club that absolutely have no understanding of how to win trophies, because what they do is they have Jose Mourinho with his CV, who, by the way, was awful. But then the day before a final, they go, I think we'll have Brian Mason, please. We'll have Ryan Mason instead of Jose Mourinho. This is the club we're talking about. This is an absolute shambles of a club. and one that I just keep laughing at. But every time they play Arsenal, home or away, because that's the only 2 games they care about, guys, by the way. They've got 38 games. The only 2 they care about. They're quiet for all of them. Arsenal at home. Come on, let's get the combined 11s out. Let's throw all these players in our combined 11. Let's make Arsenal look crap. They got no Odegaard. They got no Rice. This is going to be easy. All the previews I've got leading up to it: 3-1 Tottenham, 3-0 Tottenham, 2-0 Tottenham. What do you think the score will be? I reckon we'll nick it 2-1. I reckon we'll beat you 3-1, 3-0. I reckon. Cool. And then when they lose 1-0, we're crap anyway. Get Ange out. What absolute nonsense are we hearing from these guys? Honestly, man, it's beautiful. I love it. And every single year, it gets better and better. This guy, I hope, stays in the job, because Tottenham are not getting anywhere near Champions League football playing like this, man. Mwah! It's beautiful to see.
Well, listen, mate, I got to say, for me, mate.
Listen, mate.
No, first of all, I think, I just speak about the game. I thought Spurs were absolutely diabolical. Just because you look good in the middle of the park or whatever, get the ball forward, all right. Yeah, that for me is irrelevant. It's about what you do when you get the ball in the penalty box and around the penalty area. And they were absolutely shambolic. Son, Brennan Johnson, Solanke didn't have much service, but when he did get that big chance, he wanted touch after touch after touch. He needed to shoot. Poor. Maddison, for me, played way too deep. I didn't think he had a good game, but I think he played way too deep in the match. I think Postecoglou got that wrong. I personally would have played Maddison really close to Solanke to get Solanke some support. I think that was a mistake. Try to play him as this deep-lying quarterback-style player ain't the way. Thought Kulusevski sort of drifted in and out of the game as the game went on. Sometimes he looked all right, sometimes he didn't, but he was probably one of the better players when he was in the game. Just really, really poor, man. Really, really poor. And I got to say, I got to give Arteta some credit, because for me, I think he knew that was exactly how the game was going to go. Because if you'd watched the Tottenham versus Leicester game, Tottenham should have been 5-0 up against Leicester in that first half, yeah? They only scored 1 goal in the game. If you watch the Newcastle game, yeah, they dominated the ball again on the edge of the penalty area, didn't score enough goals, only scored 1 goal, got beat. So I think Arteta just went there and thought, you know what? If we open up the game, yeah, we attack them, right? That'll give them more space, more places for them to damage us. Let's just sit back. We've got one of the best defenses in Europe, right? Let's just sit back, defend. Spurs don't know how to score a goal, and we'll get them on the counter attack, or we'll get them off a set piece. And I think he got the tactics spot on. I don't think it was pretty, but I think he got the tactics spot on. And I think basically he just knew that Tottenham are just dead. You know what I mean? And that's why he set up that way. So I got to say fair play to Arteta. Really, really poor from Spurs. I mean, you got to be getting more than this, man. You know what I mean? Your local rivals are coming to your gaff without Rice, without Odegaard, and that's the best that you can do. Really, really poor. And I think Ange is under pressure, and I think that's why he's a little snappy. I don't think he was rude. I think, the reporter brought it on herself, but I think for me personally, I think that he's under pressure, and I think he knows he's under pressure. The other thing that maybe he's getting to is maybe this whole Spursy thing is just rubbing off on him. You know what I mean? In a weird way, in the sense that, like, bro, no one can succeed at that football pause, isn't it? Well, no one can succeed at that football club. I mean, if you look at the names that they've had, Pochettino, Conte, Jose Mourinho, none of them have been able to win anything. So he's probably gone there. He's probably like 18 months into the job, and he's thinking to himself, nah, I ain't going to win anything. So it's just a mess. Spurs are just
the CV of Mourinho and Conte. They've won every other club they've been to other than Tottenham. That says something, man. That says something that is cursed. Yet the Spurs fans will tell you that Vicario is better than Rea and Romero is better than Saliba. Yawn, it goes on. And the back five that they try and put into a combined 11 is conceding goals left, right, and centre. From set pieces, it's an absolute mess, if I'm honest with you.
I mean, Vicario was shocking. He was poor. He didn't know what he was doing. Romero, embarrassing. You know what I mean? Any Spurs fan claiming that's a foul should just hang their head in shame. You know what I mean? That is super, super poor. And, just go through the team. They're just a bang average team. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. They're just average. Solanke, average. Brennan Johnson, probably slightly less than average. Sod at the moment is playing average. Kulusevski, average. Madison, they're just average players. So when you get average players, you get average performances. I put them 7th in my Premier League predictions at the start of the season. I don't know, actually, if I've had them a bit high there. I think they might finish 8th or 9th. I
put them around 8th and 9th. I agree. And do you know what's interesting? There's a comment here from Cal, one of our long-standing Spurs members of the Terrace. He says, no one's saying he's not under pressure, but being purposely disingenuous like it's all his fault is absolutely astonishing. And I will say this. Spurs will not be fixed just by sacking Ange Postecoglou. Spurs won't be fixed just by Ange Postecoglou adapting his style. Cal is right in that. And I don't believe the boys are being disingenuous, if I'm being honest. I just think we haven't got on to this element of the talking point yet. There's a lot that needs to be fixed at that football club. Too many managers have failed for it to always be on the manager. But where you can look and criticize Big Ange is no adaptation. It's fine to play your brand of football when you have the best squad, the best team with the most money in Scotland, because it's essentially a 2-horse race. And as long as you're slightly better than Rangers that year, you can kind of play however you want. Celtic are exponentially better most seasons than everybody in the SPL, sometimes barring Rangers, recent years Rangers. Outside of that, they're the best team. There are certain managers, we see that in other leagues where you're in a kind of 1-horse race, maybe a 2-horse race, the manager does well, they then suddenly go to a far more competitive league and their system isn't working. I think there's similarities, not in the way they play, but with why Ten Hag came to England and when he had Ajax, who still are the best team, generally speaking, been the best team in the Netherlands, you can play a particular way. You can empty the midfield and attack because pound for pound, your players are typically speaking better than everybody else you're playing against. And unless Pep Guardiola style of football, if Pep didn't have a squad, and this isn't a dig at Pep, if Pep's squad wasn't as good as it was, I guarantee you Pep would adapt. I guarantee you Pep would do things slightly differently because winning is more important than I have to play my way. And I think that is where Big Ange, for me, frustrates the living daylights out of me. Not addressing the set. It's not the transfer window. You could bring a new set piece coach in tomorrow morning. There's nothing stopping you. They haven't addressed the set pieces. The high line gets exposed far too often. Tom Little brought this up yesterday, and it's so true. They've got fullbacks who are brilliant out wide, who they invert in the central areas, and they have wide players who are very good at coming in centrally that they're making hug the touchline. That's a managerial or a coaching issue. And these things 110% have to be called out when it comes to Tottenham. And I agree.